Good morning and welcome to West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church. My name's Diane Alcorn and I am the Membership and Engagement Coordinator here. If this is your first time visiting with us, welcome. We're glad you took the time to join us here. If you'd like more information about our church and our worship community, please feel free and send me an email. In the meantime, again, welcome. We're so glad you took the time to join us.
Good morning and welcome to West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church, a spiritual community whose hope is audacious and whose vision is for a more equitable and just world for all. I'm Judy Montgomery, Worship Associate, serving this amazing community. Joining me today are David Blazer, Music Director, Brian Gardner, new Worship Associate, Christine Salante, Bob Beamer, and Danny Dunchek, who are the tech folks making this live stream possible today. Thank you to the crew. A special welcome to our guest speaker this morning, Reverend Shirley A. Nelson. Shirley has been a friend since we met when she co-facilitated Beloved Conversations here at West Shore in about 2014. She is a Cleveland area certified interspiritual compassionate counselor and life skills coach, founder of Sands Sacred Circle, which offers retreats and workshops. For more than 30 years, she has lived an engaged spiritual life through mindfulness and compassion as a speaker, facilitator, writer, and a workshop and retreat leader. Shirley offers inner essence serenity sessions to individuals to explore their spiritual journey with the intention of raising their consciousness and deepen their understanding of self and others. She is a recent graduate of One Spirit Learning Alliance in New York, New York, where she was ordained as an interfaith, interspiritual minister. Congratulations and a warm West Shore welcome, Reverend Shirley. Together, we are pleased to invite you into this space, which is connecting people in Cleveland and beyond to our welcoming community. Often the world is not so welcoming. Often the values of the world are neither loving nor just. So may this worship hour be one where our souls are fed by a wisdom and a passion that reminds us that life doesn't have to be that way, that there exists a larger love in every human heart, urging us on to what is better. Let this larger love move in our midst today, and may we be changed by it. A special welcome to you if you are a newcomer to our community. Gay or straight, cisgender or transgender, whatever your race or ethnicity, you are welcome. Our West Shore regulars would love to greet you, and will do that if you indicate in the Facebook chat that you are new or relatively new. If you happen to have any questions and would like to chat with a live person, West Shore's Member and Engagement Coordinator, Diane Alcorn, would love to reach out. Her email address is dalcorn@wsuuc.org. Once again, welcome to this new day.
Every week, we light our chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. It is a beautiful reminder that no matter how many jarring events might happen over the course of the week, the gathered community that is West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church is a source of stability and meaning we can depend on. Please say with me our words, originally inspired by Maya Angelou. This is our chalice. In many separate rooms, we light one flame, flame of passion, flame of compassion, flame of humor, flame of style. We do not accept merely surviving. Let our mission be to thrive. Together in spirit, we are one. Let us witness to the unity of our spirit by saying together our unison affirmation words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia y el servicio su ley. Este es nuestro magnífico convenio, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
So may it be. And now we turn to our time of greeting. We greet each other in the midst of our joys and struggles, some of which are personal, but others of which are public. Once again this week, not enough water in one place, Oregon, which has had record-breaking wildfires, and too much water in Germany, which has had disastrous flooding. Our thoughts and prayers to them. We celebrate with Kevin Keefe and Karen Kircher. Kevin's dad has completed treatment for a blood infection. Let each of us now say the names of people whom we are holding in our personal thoughts and prayers this morning. People in the West Shore community and people beyond. Wherever you happen to be, say these names out loud into the space of your room as if the act of just saying the name is like a prayer, which it is. You may even type the name into the chat if you like. I will pause for a moment as we do this. This has been our greeting time when we are called out of the ordinary world of our daily life and into a special time of renewal and vitality and remembering who we really are. Listen as David sings hymn number 124, Be That Guide. My favorite words in the hymn are, rise above the daily strife, lift on high the good you find, help to heal the hurts of life.
Above the daily strife, lift on high the good you find, help to heal the hurts of life. Be that helper nothing daunts, doubt a friend and taunt a foe, ever strive for liberty, show the path that life should go. Be that builder trusting good, bitter though the test may be. Through all ages they are right, though they build in agony. that teacher faith directs move beyond the old frontier. Though the frightened fear that faith be tomorrow's pioneer.
Thank you, David. Last week, I was fortunate to have a woman come to clean my apartment. It was the first time that she had come. She asked me how long the previous person took to clean it, and I told her 4 hours, but she always told me that she was very slow. I made the assumption that it would take the new person less than 4 hours. When we talked on the phone after about 3 hours, she told me she wasn't even halfway finished. Yikes! I told her I wasn't willing to pay for more than 4 hours, so whatever she got done would be what I would get. As I tried to figure out what had gone wrong, I realized I hadn't asked her how long she thought it would take her to complete the job. A little curiosity would have eliminated that uncomfortableness. In some situations, it's easy to say, why on earth would they do or say or think that? I don't usually say judgmental things out loud, but I still think them a little more often than I would like. The reaction I would like to have is to ask the person about whatever it is, to be curious instead of making assumptions or judgments. And I know this is true around politics too, but I'm not always willing or able to be that mature. When I see someone's clothing choice that raises my eyebrows, what I've learned to do at least some of the time is to say to myself, that doesn't meet my need for beauty. It occurs to me now that I could always ask that person about their choice, and maybe I'll be reminded that they're colorblind. One of my friends is, and I always forget that she is. Or I'll hear another story behind the choice, thereby getting to know them better, which is the whole point, in my opinion. Could also ask myself why I have a problem with their choice. Curiosity would also be a good strategy in those conversations where I am tempted to try to fix someone and their problem when I need to just listen deeply. I could ask with sincere curiosity how they think the situation might be resolved. Recently, I had a situation with a friend where my feelings were really hurt because I thought we had made an agreement on something. A week later, it seemed she completely ignored that agreement. We did talk it through, and it turned out I had misunderstood the agreement. Curiosity about the situation created more connection rather than leaving me stuck in the icky feelings I was having. The words I want to remember for the next time there is a situation like that: I'm confused about whatever it is, and I would like some clarity. Will you help me understand? Saying it that way avoids placing blame, lowers my blood pressure, encourages honest discussion, and most importantly, deepens the friendship. Another growing edge for me is around judging myself. For instance, if I'm choosing to eat something that's not really in my best interest, I'm likely to either beat myself up for it or say, oh, well. What would serve me better is to be curious and ask myself, Judy, what need are you meeting by eating that food? I strive to be less judgmental of myself and others and to be more curious. And now for today's offering. I have mentioned Beloved Conversations quite a few times from this podium because it was such an important experience for me back in 2014. The UUA describes it this way: Beloved Conversations is an intensive workshop series on race and ethnicity that holds both the tensions and joys of an intentional multicultural community. The framework for Beloved Conversations is a teaching and learning curriculum developed by Meadville Lombard Theological School, which is our seminary, Quite a few of the people who are active today in our social justice groups here at West Shore shared that experience with me back then. I think we met every other week over a series of months. Reverend Shirley was one of the people who helped to make it a very impactful experience. I know it is a very expensive curriculum, so I'm so grateful for the financial support of congregants that made such a transformative experience possible back then, and other kinds of things that happen currently here at West Shore. Thank you for your ongoing pledges as well as the special one-time gifts you give. And you can follow the screen prompts to text your gift today. Enjoy David playing a piano arrangement of the hymn tune, Slain.
Good morning. We are now going to enter into our time of meditation, cultivating beginner's mind. I invite you to simply relax and take in several deep breaths. And as you relax, this meditation is to help us cultivate a beginner's mind, a mind that has let go of attachments to previous experience or prejudgments or expectations. I invite you to be curious. Such a mind can deal openly and flow fully with situations, things, or people. Such a mind is free of the past and is unattached to the future. Such a mind is peaceful and ready. As you sit quietly, let each breath take you deeper into your center. And without sorting or selecting through what you find, become aware of an old and original part of who you are. It could be your laugh, or your stubbornness, or your love of flowers, or your love of rain. Hold that old original part of you in your breathing as you enter your day. Be open to finding this deep part of you in others, for the same wind touches many leaves. As we move through each of the following statements, begin to free your mind of habitual ways of thinking and being. Starting today, when you listen to someone, give up all of your preconceived ideas and your subjective opinions. Listen to her and just observe what her way is. Let your mind be open to possibilities. It is a mind ready to ask questions. It is a mind that is more creative. Allow yourself to form closer bonds with others in your life as they experience your interest in them and your appreciation for their thoughts and ideas. Allow your mind to take one step at a time. You do not have to navigate the whole staircase. If you fall down 7 times, get up 8. Practice living in I don't know land. It's okay not to always know. You don't have to be an expert. Let that go. Allow things to be revealed to you. Don't prejudge others or situations. Let go of shoulds. Learn to live without shoulding on yourself and others. Learn how to make use of your experience and apply them to each new circumstance. Use your experiences to grow. Go forth in the spirit of inquiry and focus on questions, not answers. The real and lasting practice for each of us is to remove what obstructs us so that we can be who we are, holding nothing back. We do not need discipline to be kind and curious, just an open heart. Amen. Good morning, beloveds. My sermon topic today is Curiosity Creates Connection, Compassion, and Spaciousness Within. Our worship associate, Judy Montgomery, talked about a few examples that help you to understand ways in which we can be curious instead of accusatory. They were excellent examples. When I sat down to write this sermon about curiosity, I asked myself a couple of questions. Why is this topic important to me? What am I most curious about? And in response to the first question, I realized it is important to me for several reasons. I think if I was more curious, I would make better decisions. I would be more curious and less accusatory. I would probably be calmer and less anxious about the outcome of things by simply taking time to pause and reflect instead of being impulsive and going with the first thought that comes to mind. Perhaps I would think more with my heart when it comes to rules of endearment and less with my head. And generally speaking, the quality of my life might possibly improve, and so would my relationships with others, and that's important to me. The second question I ask myself is, what am I most curious about? I am curious about all of what I just said and more. But what I'm most curious about is the care of the soul. I know that soul is one of those words that may have a different meaning for everyone who is listening. But when I speak of the soul, I am simply referring to the spirit and the essence of a person. It is the thing that is alive inside of all of us. And I believe that if it is cared for lovingly, it will feed and nourish us with the goodness of life. Thomas Paine, an influential 18th century writer of essays and pamphlets, once said, "These are the times that try men's souls." The first time I heard that, I had to ask myself, Is he talking about the 18th century or is he talking about the 21st century? Because surely these are the times that try men's souls. We're living in them. Due to the internet, we now know more about souls of men than ever before. There was a time when the news was primarily composed or comprised of what was happening in our communities, cities, and states, and that bubble has burst, and we are now bombarded with news from around the world, and it is sometimes overwhelming. How do we care for our souls in times like these? How do we find that point of equilibrium that deepens our compassion? How do we make room in our hearts for that which we do not understand? The atrocities are many, and we don't have to travel across the globe, virtually or otherwise, to witness them because we have a pretty big mess in our own backyard. Yes, it is all very messy and painful, and our souls are impacted. Global warming has changed weather patterns, and now many areas in the United States and beyond are dealing with extreme weather conditions. This week, a wildfire spread across more than 200,000 acres in Oregon. They say it is the largest wildfire in our nation ever, and they have named it the Bootleg Fire. What an interesting name. More than 2,000 homes were in the path of the Bootleg Fire, and people were told to flee or die. As of midweek, there were at least 1,000 firefighters battling the blaze. At this time, I invite you to just pause for 30 seconds to send your love to those people who had to flee and to those firefighters who have been struggling to put out that fire. And we have all suffered from the thing that hovers over all of our heads, a global pandemic that has been in the forefront of our lives now for over a year. And with the rising cases due to the new Delta variant, we may be facing another shutdown and more deaths due to COVID. Our souls are weary, not just because of extreme health and weather conditions, but also due to a corrupt political system, police brutality, social inequity, poverty, and wars and rumors of wars. Violence is rampant. And not to mention the things that you're going through in your own lives, your personal challenges. You may be taking care of a sick parent, a child. You may be unemployed. You may be struggling with COVID. But whatever it is, it makes the soul very weary. And so we come to places like a church to help renew our souls, to get some input, to find some way of renewing our spirit and being able to go forth again each week. I tell you, it seems not one day goes by in which we are not made aware of violence erupting someplace in the world, whether it is on our doorsteps, the next county over, various cities in the United States, and places abroad. In the midst of all of this, you are being impacted whether you realize it or not. Out of a need for protection, Some of you are anesthetizing yourself because it is too much, too fast, and too painful. If you find yourself blocking out a big portion of the world by not watching the news or reading current affairs, you are taking care of yourself. It's a lot, and your soul is letting you know that it's too much. As we cultivate a sense of curiosity and practice compassion towards ourselves and others, unlimited possibilities emerge to love more deeply and to develop stronger connections. And in doing so, we invite more grace and ease into our daily interactions. To be willing to rise above ourselves is probably the most rigorous growth experience we will ever have. And it is what will be our most intimate ally in helping others. Can you imagine that? I cannot count the number of times I have come face to face with a situation that has me asking, did I do the right thing in the right way? Was I fair to all parties? Am I owning up to how I contributed? Am I being self-righteous? When we take time to examine ourselves and our motives, we can trust that God's grace is sufficient while striking a balance between humility and reality and whatever activity is required to get the job done. We don't always get it right, and that's okay. We live and we learn and we choose again so that each go-round opens the eye of the heart to see with more clarity and to love more deeply ourselves and others. The next time you find yourself stewing over something, I invite you to think again. Maybe it's not really how you think it is. Maybe if you knew the other side of the story, you would let your guards down and be curious instead of ambiguous. Sometimes you just have to sit with things. And when I think about that, I think about my friend Tyra. She says sometimes you just have to have a listening. This listening is just listening to yourself, taking time, being still, being quiet. Just have a listening. In times when I have had a personal growth experience, it has felt like taking a step up on the ladder of life. Most of us experience growth more frequently than we might realize, but those times do not get as much recognition because they are more subtle in nature. When that is the case, it is like a gradual rise in consciousness, which is more like a ramp instead of a ladder. So a ramp is going to go kind of like this. A ladder is going to go step up, step up, step up. So when I say this, as far as these times of gradual growth, it's not something that's going to make the 6 o'clock news. These are things like you realize you're talking to your spouse and you're actually able to be there and listen in a way that is genuine and sincere. You actually find yourself not getting angry and being triggered by things that they're saying. You find yourself on the street now being able to maybe greet people with a smile instead of being afraid. These are little things that you notice within yourself. So it won't make the news, but it is like a gradual step up that ladder of higher realizations. In considering the idea of walking up a ramp instead of climbing to the next step up a ladder, it's a bit gentler. The movement is the same insofar as upward mobility goes, but it is more natural and easy to do with less wear and tear on your knees or your body or your brain or your heart, because you are increasing your steps gradually. Sometimes when an unsettling situation occurs, it is not always easy to step lightly, and as a result, we react first, and we don't give ourselves a chance to observe what's really going on inside of us. Getting to know what you are really feeling inside requires stepping up and rethinking a troubling incident. Rethinking broadens your vision so that you are not inclined to draw either or conclusions and label things as right or wrong. Rethinking opens the door to an expanded view so that you can see more of what truly disturbs you. Sometimes it is not the situation that's troubling, but it is what the situation reminds you of about yourself. Rethinking allows you to be curious instead of dubious and gives the other person the benefit of the doubt before casting blame. I am sure there are times that you can recall feeling perplexed by a situation, and your initial reaction was to judge it. However, upon second thought, you realized that your reaction had more to do with how it made you feel, more so than what appeared to be happening. I was confronted by a situation myself just a couple of weeks ago. In my part-time work at the UU Church in Shaker as an administrator, one of my responsibilities is to schedule events. It can be trying sometimes because sometimes people's heads bump and we have the same, people want the same space at the same time. But by being the one to manage it, I try to avoid double booking. So you can imagine what happened when someone booked the space and I wasn't aware of it. I got really annoyed, and I wasn't the best or the kindest person, you would say. I didn't do all the things I'm suggesting that you do. I didn't do the rethinking. I just kind of jumped to a place of anger. So instead of being curious, I became accusatory and labeled the person as inconsiderate, because obviously it did not occur to them that someone else may have already reserved that space. The part that really got to me is that they advertised their event on Facebook, and then they also put it on a website, the place that was helping to host the event. So as I began researching what might have happened to lead to this chain of events, I noticed how angry I felt. And knowing that we are hardly ever upset for the reasons we think we are, I began exploring those angry feelings and asking myself, what was really bothering me? What's going on? By the time I got to the bottom of things, which involved a number of conversations with various people, I was clear that what I was really angry about is that I felt disrespected. And this realization brought up feelings of the past when other incidents of not feeling respected arose. And it made me realize that I still have some work to do. Yeah, we'll be doing this kind of work until it's time to go. When I spoke to the young lady that I had placed so much blame on, I found her to be extremely remorseful and apologetic. She was almost in tears as she explained what happened and that she did not intend to do any harm. She had no idea that she had done something to cause a lot of stress. And so we straightened it all out and we moved on. But I felt pretty bad. Once you acknowledge your feelings, you are ready to move on to a new thought while steadily climbing up that ramp to higher realizations. So you may now begin to realize that I'm introducing a process, a way to process icky feelings, a way to kind of slow down, to pause, to look at things before jumping to conclusions. It's just a very simple process, and hopefully it will help you. So the first thing, as I said, is you acknowledge your feelings, and once you acknowledge your feelings, then you're ready to move on to a new thought while steadily climbing up that ramp to higher realizations. Before moving on, it is necessary to pause and assess the situation. By pausing, you allow a deeper understanding to emerge. When you are caught up in a situation and not sure about what to do, try to remain curious so that you can connect to others without judgment. If you can remember the following 4 steps, you are likely to experience genuine growth and a more open and loving heart. Taking time to be curious creates connection that can lead to a better outcome than what might happen if you choose not to. R, rethink the situation. A, acknowledge your feelings about it. M, move on to a new thought. P, pause to allow the highest and best thought to evolve. Remember R-A-M-P. Remember the ramp. You are walking up that ramp to gain insight that leads you to higher realizations and opens your heart to an incredible capacity for peace and love. When you feel connected to another, there is no room for judgments. There's only room for growth and well-being. Connection opens the door to intimacy and understanding without necessarily arriving at a resolution. Connection offers a soft landing for all involved that allows you to see each other more clearly and to try and understand both sides of the story. Connection nurtures fertile ground for possibility and growth and experiences that lead to more compassion and higher realizations. In these times, we are all being called into a deeper faith. As we do our spiritual practices to become more awake and aware, let us hold space for our brothers and sisters who are struggling to do so. In these times, let us see with new eyes. Let us become an active vessel for the divine. In these times, do not allow yourselves to become victims of selfishness, greed, and apathy. In these times, embrace the declaration by the Master Teacher, Jesus, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Matthew 22:39. Perhaps it is as simple as showing a little more compassion towards ourselves and others. Compassion changes people. Compassion gives us the ability to understand someone else's situation and the desire to take action to improve their lives. It is the quality that allows us to step outside of ourselves and see the circumstances of others. The value of compassion enables us to understand ourselves and others better, and the more we understand others, the more we will want to relieve their suffering. Let's get curious. Let's ask questions that express our interest in others and our desire for connection. Let's walk up that ramp to higher realizations, to open the door to our heart and see more through the eyes of love. I invite you to cultivate the ability to see things from someone else's perspective so that you can be more generous and caring and courageous and less afraid. Remember, R, rethink the situation. A, acknowledge your feelings about it. M, move on to a new thought. P, pause to allow the highest and best thought to evolve. In closing, these are the words of Amos Oz, author, who invites us to imagine. To imagine the inner world, both intellectual and emotional, of the other. To use our imagination even in times of strife. To use it also primarily in moments when we feel a surge of fury, insult, loathing, righteousness, and the certainty that we have been wronged and that justice is entirely on our side. Perhaps also to ask, once in a while, what if I were her, or him, or them? To step for a moment into the other's shoes and under her skin, not in order to cross the river to be reborn, but simply to understand, to sense what is there, what is beyond the river, what do they have in their head, how do they feel over there, and what do we look like from there? Perhaps also to try to find out how deep the dividing river is, how wide, how and where we might build a bridge. This curiosity will not necessarily lead us to a conclusion of sweeping moral relativity, nor to self-abdication in favor of the other's selfhood. It will lead us sometimes to an exhilarating discovery, which is that there are many rivers, each of whose banks can show us a different landscape that may be fascinating and surprising. Fascinating, even if it is not right for us. Surprising, even if it does not appeal to us. Perhaps, indeed, in curiosity lies the prospect of openness and tolerance. And those are the words of Amos Oz. Amen, Ashe, Ashe. And now, I will introduce a hymn, number 298, Wake Now My Senses.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. on your vow, giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now, my reason, reach out to the new, join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time, suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the call. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end.
Now, bring your chalice close to extinguish it as Judy extinguishes the chalice here. We extinguish our flames, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us until we meet again.
There is no coffee hour this week. I will see you at the sermon chat at 12:30 on Zoom. And now, as we part, do one thing at random today. If a patch of sun catches your eye, hold nothing back. Go stand in it and raise your face to the sky. If you're caught in the rain, open yourself to it, however briefly. If you hear live music on the street, seek it out and listen quietly for a moment. Hold nothing back. Allow what touches you to change your path. And so may it be. See you next week, West Shore. Until then, love, encourage, and cheer to all.